You're listening to a Skewed Orbit original podcast.
Time, weather, and always pass.
Welcome back, my in-home studio audience. How are we? Welcome back. Welcome to the Rachel LaForce Show. It's me, Rachel LaForce, and this is my show. This is a podcast that I think is pretty funny. I think we have a good time here. So it's a comedy podcast. This is also a spiritual podcast. We go deep. We cover mental health. We cover well-being, all of the things. So if you're joining us for the first time, what an episode to join in on. If you've been listening, how are you? Have you survived? The astrological season has been wild. And even if you're not a subscriber to the stars, that's completely okay. If I talk to you long enough, we would probably deduce that your life has also been locomotion. So we're of like mind, no matter your belief system. You know what I mean? So this is going to be pretty quick and dirty today because we are, like I said, we had this eclipse season and we're kind of coming out of that. And then also typically Aries season, which is the beginning of the astrological calendar, which here in the States, that's spring. And it's really when we're beginning to see things come alive. So for my money, I'm like, that is a new year. You're right. Saying it's new year in the dead of January, it's like, no wonder we're all just depressed and not accomplishing anything. I mean, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. It's so funny that we do that. It's so funny that we do that. And so a lot of us are kind of metaphorically coming online, so to speak, of this new version of ourselves. We've been talking about this the last couple of weeks. Especially here on this podcast of like, what does that mean? Where are we? And obviously our individual experiences, the things that are shifting, the things that we've been building on for each of us, that's going to be different, right? Each of us are going to have a different set of circumstances, but that's what collective energy is, meaning that overall we're all experiencing something similar, but the exact place in which it fits in our lives is different, right? We're all playing Tetris, but we're all just, making the shapes fit in different sequences. That's essentially what the difference of a collective energy versus our individual energy is. So some of you may be coming out of this eclipse and you're like, okay, no, I know exactly what it is. You're fired up. You've got all this energy. And I feel like my message for you is like, boogie with it. You know what I mean? Like, good on you. Get out there. I cannot wait to see what you do. This is more for those of us that this new energy, this new way of being is something that we have been slowly working towards for a while. And some of us I would say we won't lament too much on it, but some of us like years. There has been years of like this version of ourselves that we've been like meditating to get in touch with and moving towards and all of these things. Both on a spiritual plane and then on an earthly plane of like, okay, these are the actions I've been taking to make myself this person. Or maybe like I'm now only nurturing my body with like the foods that I know make it feel good. Or I've cut out old people, like these things that you've done on an earthly plane as well to represent and bring into being this new person that you've been working towards becoming. And more specifically, though, I feel like a lot of us, there have been a very significant shift towards really moving into this next version of ourselves. And I won't speak for you, but for me, it's taken me a while. Like, it's borderline embarrassing or shocking to me how difficult sometimes these new leaps of being are. Like, I would say I haven't experienced this probably, like, not to be hyperbolic, but like, I don't know, honestly, maybe since like 2018 when I first got sober. That's like 6 years where like suddenly my container for the way I saw the world shifted significantly. And now it had been building, right? It had been building. I knew that something needed to shift, something needed to change. And then certainly over 2019 and into 2020, I was operating as a different person. My friend groups were different. Things that we're talking about was different. But then I went on this wild ride of like, hey, let's get married during a pandemic. And then you want to move across the country and then have 2 children back to back and then start 3 businesses. Let's do it. Don't recommend all of those things at once, but also, here I am with the other side. So it's doable. So if you're in that phase right now of doing multiple things at once, I see you and I love you. God bless. So now dumping out on the other side, and I would say it's probably been since around August of last year where I was like, okay, there's kind of some new things that are wanting to come through. And this started with a body journey. So I was doing a lot of somatics and breath work and changing what I was eating because I was moving out of breastfeeding. And so just all of these things were shifting within my body. And now on the other side of that, it's like, okay, so this physical vessel is asking us to move at a different rate that we haven't moved at before. And it's slower than any pace we've been asked to go at before. And so this is where I kind of throw the ball back to you, which is I think there's a lot of similar energies that's happening, especially for the folks that listen to this podcast. So if you're nodding your head right now, I know, and I see you. And so that there's some aspect of your life that has called you to move slower, but that in this moving slower, you're actually not going slow at all. It's just that you've always gotten to where you're going too fast. Trauma has a tendency to do that to us. The world at large has a tendency to do that to us. By this, by that, go faster, by faster. So you're actually, to us, we think that we're being asked to slow down, but in reality, this is actually still a pretty good pace. You're just learning how to align body, mind, and soul so that all of you can go together, right? Or more simply said, grounded, right? You want your energy to be grounded. So this next phase of becoming who we are is a lot about energy work. It's not so much about the physical output. I do think that that's tied into a lot of this. So if you're like, no, Rachel, it is like, I'm launching all of this stuff. Absolutely. I'm here for it. But I'm just talking about this one element of it, which is, for me, it's this process of actually learning how to slow down. And what does that feel like? What does it look like? For example, my body is asking me to reduce my caffeine to basically it's really probably asking me to not do any caffeine. But I'm still just like, hold it on. So I'm like, okay, girl, I'll do like 1 cup a day after I've had a full meal. How's that? And she's like, we'd rather not, but you do you, right? So there's still these that in some ways may not feel like that big of a change, but sometimes these very small things, it's been a habit and a part of our routines for so long that kind of laying some of these things down is going to take time. Because the work of, okay, I'm in my business and now I want to push out this new offering. Like pushing that, like the physical stuff out right now is going to be easy because A, you're ready, B, the energy is providing itself for like a very fast womb and fast exit, right? So what we want to do is use that energy, but also being mindful of like, how do we want it to feel in our body? Like I realize a lot of times for me, and I'm going to guess this probably resonates for you, when there's something that I've been manifesting or someone I want to work with or an opportunity or something and it comes through, I've gotten a lot better at it now. But like it used to be like fumbling energy. Like suddenly I was just a bear on skates. And I'm like, what? Like it's just a DM. Can you relax? You know what I mean? Can you relax? Like you attracted it and now you're going to miff it because so that's that not fully being in alignment yet, because there's a part of you that's still like, I've got to grab it now or I'm going to lose it. Right. And it's like, that's not the energy that anything stays. That's not a safety energy. And that's not yes, you've come to the right place. right? Like that's the energy that I want to call in things now. So when these big things start to come through for me, these big opportunities come through for me, it's not the, whoa, I've got to say the right thing, or if I have to get back to them in 24 hours, or they're going to move on, or like any of that frenetic energy that, oh no, he called me back, or oh no, she wants to go on a second date, or oh, like, we don't do that anymore. We don't do that anymore. So this is what I'm talking about, that energy work that's going to allow you to be the person who's like, yeah, you've come to the right place. Come on in, right? You want to be, it's like the character from every action movie where it's like right before they go into act 3 and it's like they haven't been able to figure it out, and then they stumble upon some like esoteric, like eccentric guy who like lives in a bunker, and he's like, yeah, I got what you need, come on in, right? And he's the person that they meet right before they solve the problem. Like that's the energy. Like we want the energy of like, yes, I've been waiting for you, right? And so there's so much of that subtle body energy. And so really what I'm wanting to let you know is like, this is going to take some time. And you have 2 choices. One, you accept that and you do the work, or you keep thinking that you can cheat the system. Just pointing that to myself because I'm typically that person, right? Like, sure, you can keep drinking coffee every day, and then it's just going to keep blocking what it is that we're wanting to do. So just drink, green tea, take a knee, and like keep it moving, right? So really paying attention over the next 6 to 8 weeks of your subtle energy body. Where do you hold your tension? When are you most held in tension? So I've found for myself mornings, because if I don't get everything done for myself that I need in the morning, and then we've talked about this, and then my kids are up, and then my husband needs something, and then it's the start of the workday, and then I need to reach out, and like get the ball rolling for work and all these things. I'm so tense and holding on to all of this, like, and then you put coffee on top of that, and it's like, oh, we're all shocked that you're having mini panic attacks. Like, hello. So there's going to be things like that. What do you have to shift, change, or move around in your schedule? Now, again, I understand some of us, you're in a transition period, you're working for the man, or there's all these different things. So I'm not saying it's clear the deck, but it's going, let's look at what the reality is, right? A couple episodes back, I talked about here and now, whole and complete, right here, right now, whole and complete. Okay. So we're accepting that, and we're looking at these different points of contention that, excuse my French, fuck with our energy. And for me, if I don't get it right, get it tight first thing in the morning, then and I know that some of these are no brainers. You're like, yeah, Rachel, I've had a morning routine for 14 years. And I know. Okay. But I'm just saying, where is that moment for you? It may not be the morning. It may be after work, kids come home, you're doing this or that. It may be, oh, I got, I don't know, I'm getting ready to do a big art fair or something. So it's like before I show my work or whatever, like, for you, right? What are those moments? And then how would the version of you that you're becoming interact in those moments? And that's what we have to start to do every day or every opportunity. So that's again what this slowing down period is slowing down long enough to go, oh, there's the tension. And I'm not saying uncomfortable moments. There's going to be a lot of moving through uncomfortable moments, but that's a podcast episode for a different day. I'm talking about moments of tension where you go into places that aren't moving with ease. I understand not all of life is easy. We're moving through different levels of trauma. We're all in different places. But I'm saying just take it face value of what it's worth. Finding those moments and how can we stick with them and stay there so that we become more aware of what we need, so that between now and July, we know what all those points of tension are. We know what our hangups are and the things that we need to clear out of our way energetically in order to like fully lock in and activate all of that new energy for ourselves. There's just so much that is coming down and through for you, and you're going to be able to identify it faster because you've slowed down. So it's almost like, I know the fear, I'm sure many of you share this, but I'll speak for me. My fear is always, well, everybody else is already doing so much, right? It's the keeping up with the Joneses, but now it's just, keeping up with TikTok. Oh, gross. Am I right? Right. So there's always these like, okay, I've got to push out this, or I need to do this, or like, oh, we've got to come up with this new thing. And it gets blurry for me because that's also, I work at a very fast paced way creatively. A, that's my 10,000 hours. B, that's just the way that my creativity tends to flow. And I have built up the physical, mental, and spiritual energy to be able to put out things at high capacity. So while yes, those are, and I just share that. I know that sounds like I'm like, let me brag about me, but just saying that in contention for you, right? Like, what are those things that you have worked towards to be the container for the thing that you want? Now, also, that's sometimes where we don't check ourselves, because the unhealed version of that, the unhealthy version of that is, well, I've got to keep up with what everybody else is doing. And that's just not true. So that's why these next periods of growth are hard. They are very hard because they're asking you to do something new. You've prepared yourself for it. You've taken steps towards this thing, but activating that, embodying that, moving through the world like that, saying yes to these projects, no to those, saying no to that social event, like whatever these things are, this is new. And it's also even more new because it's not like, oh, this is a thing you're going to do, and now like, boom, everything you want rolls in, right? We know this is activating more insularly a 6-month new beginning. And beyond that is almost like a 10 to 12 year new pattern, new way of being. That's a long fucking time, bro. Like even just the 6 months, right? So knowing that, even though we feel like it's going slow, like this is for the long, like you're playing the long game now. Okay. So we don't need to, like, every boat that we feel like misses us, or it's like just trusting. It's like the work right now between now to July is really being aware of those points of tension, locking in that new energy, becoming aware, because also the more focus that we put on it, we're even going to notice like, oh, don't need this thing, don't need this thing, don't need this thing, clear this out, clear that out. Like you're going to begin to notice how little you really need to be operating at your highest capacity as you define it, both mentally, spiritually, and physically, right? And it's just that we've taken all these things with us, right? The world, and like, no shame in your game if like this is you're an influencer that's just like all like mid-size fashion or something. So your whole job is selling things to other people to show them, right? But meaning there's so many aspects of our life and around us where it's like, buy this thing, do this thing, and that may change for you, right? There's going to be times where like I just was turning over some old skincare that I used to use. Not that it wasn't working, just whatever reason, spirit, my intuition, my higher self was like, you know what? I think we're good with that. We're going to do less. We're going to do this one, this one, this one, 3. That's all we need, right? Like whatever those things are. So really using this as an opportunity to discover, how does your new self move and walk around? Because last thing I'll leave you with, it feels like the very classic theater exercise where it was like, okay, how would this person, when you're getting to know who this character is, like, how would they walk? How do they walk through New York versus how they walk through a Walmart? How do they like ask for what they need? What do they put in their smoothie, right? Like all of these things to help you get into character. And that's the exact same thing of Rachel. Old versions of Rachel, like this morning version of Rachel, would still love that the cup of coffee is the thing that fixes it. I would love that the cup of coffee is the thing that speeds me up and gets me excited to get hyper focused and do this work. And then it doesn't make me crash. It doesn't, that's just not energetically. I did all of this work on my body so that my body could better communicate with me. And now I don't get to go, oh, never mind, because I don't like what the fuck she's saying. You know what I mean? Like I can't be like, oh, well, girl, we wouldn't have done that work if I knew you weren't going to want coffee. Right? So slowing down and knowing what are these new parts of your operating system and how can we best support them. Cool. I got this new because of this work. I just picked up this new Oracle deck by Cindy Dale, and this is the Subtle Body Oracle deck. A lot of you that are specifically healer, like physical practitioners, so my massage therapists, my Chinese medicine folks, my energetics, somatics, all of that. Reiki, there we go. That was the word I was looking for. You all are probably very, very well acquainted with like the 12 chakras, the 12 aura system, energy fields, all of that. I'm really just now, because again, these are all physical things. And now really paying this much attention to my body, I'm really coming into the subtle nature of it and kind of almost seeing now like my different layers of like aura and energy in the same way of like landscaping at my house, right? Where it's like, okay, so my physical body is like the house, that's the vessel, but then you have all these beautiful things around, and you may even have like cars in the garage, like in the driveway or in the garage. Like, are there gas in them? Do you need to get gas? Like, just kind of starting to look at all of this outer energy of me of like, oof, we need to dust this off or kind of pay attention to this thing here. And again, I think that's slowing down so that, again, when these big things come through, because friends, they're coming through. This is a big year, the end of this year, going into next year, there's big, big things that are coming through. And so having all of your energy in that place of, I'm ready to receive it. Cool. And I also want to say, like, we're all in different journeys, all of our, not in places in the journey, because each of our journeys are different, and even like the words of which you describe these things, your higher power, your guides, who you talk to, all of these things are going to be different for you. So again, as always with my podcast, and God bless with anything else out in the world, take what works for you and leave the rest. Okay. So I was just going to pull just a quick card. These are new, so I'm not certain that it's going to be like the exact thing, but I just wanted to give them a little shot and just kind of see. Actually, go ahead if you're not driving, same as me. Go ahead and just close your eyes and kind of get, oof, yeah, just kind of let any of that anxiousness that this needs to be done just kind of leave. Take a big, big breath into your belly. Feel the whole space of your belly. There's so much space. And just kind of hear either like, what is the last thing that needs to empty itself out? Or what's like ready to be looked at? What's ready to really get some nurture? And you can just say a quick prayer for yourself. I'll say one for me. And we're just going to see what we get. Here we go. Let's see. Nice. It's also interesting because the first thing that I heard was like, it doesn't matter like what the card is, because whatever was coming up for each of you individually, like that's the thing you already know. Which may sound like a cop-out message, but it's not, which you maybe even heard me kind of giggle to myself, because sometimes that's what's so funny about, at least in the way that I communicate with spirit, which of course they communicate to me through comedy, but where sometimes I'll be like, okay, yeah, we're really gonna like go in and we're gonna like get the message and pull it out. And they're like, yeah, or maybe you just like already know. And so does everybody else who's listening and they want a message, like they already know. Okay, tell them to check their inbox, right? They already know. But I love this card that I pulled. And especially for those of you, and one of my friends specifically, who I will not call you out, but I will DM you about it, because I'm sure you know that I'm speaking about you, does a lot of Chinese medicine and a lot of this work. And so, yeah, this this card, I would be interested to hear your feedback as well. But this is the Liver Meridian card. If you're not familiar, the Meridian lines are basically the system that connect and naturally move all of the energy through our body, right? And they can be activated. Your meridian lines, that's kind of what acupuncture runs off of, right? So we may put a needle in here because that's going to activate something in this part of your body, or we're going to put something in your toe because it'll activate this part, right? So it's this connected system. So this is for your liver meridian, and this is planning and action. Planning and action, which I think is interesting, just taking that alone, because we were really talking about the idea of planning and doing all of this work. For me, it is planning of paying attention to where these points of tension come from and how to do it differently. Like that is planning. That's looking ahead. Okay, how are we going to do this? How are we going to operate differently? And then also the idea of action, because like I said, I think that is also like when I say this time is about rest, but it's not about rest, or excuse me, that's where I misspoke. This is not about rest. And when we talk about going slow, that's not necessarily that you need to rest, but going slow long enough to know what is the actual action that needs to be taken. So, right, again, for me, it's the action is not the planning is knowing I don't need a cup of coffee. My body would like green tea with lemon, right? And then the action is knowing, okay, I'm going to slow down, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give my body what it needs. So it's interesting that we were already kind of talking about that. I also love that I wanted to look through this. Let me see if I can do it fast enough. That she's in this, first of all, it's all green, which is this like healing love energy. So again, I think that's so much of, because these new systems and what's coming in this new part of you, so much of it is going to come from your heart chakra. So much of it is coming from loving yourself enough to know that you don't need to be scared. Because a lot of this new body, this new person that we are, all this new work we're putting out, all this stuff is just really about the things that are the most authentic to us. And we've been doing the work to be courageous enough and step into it to be able to show it and share it, right? I think it was last week or the week before, and I talked about this isn't about courage. Yeah, it was last week because it was drop your armor. That it's not like, okay, we're going to do this. Like, can you move through the world with wonder and wonderment and ease, and allow that to be the movement rather than this. I don't feel that this new version of yourself needs all of your courage. What it needs of you is just to be, because that's the courageous act, right? So it feeds into itself. I'm going to see, I think this new book, I don't know if it goes through. Here we go. Yeah. So your meridian line for your liver is, so it talks about either like let me slow down. What I'm showing you is for this card, just to give you some kind of things that maybe you may feel very called to this card. So I want to give you a little bit more. The idea of with your liver, so we're either looking at is this yin or yang energy. So this is yin energy, right? Which I also love. That's why she's in this beautiful kind of like physical movement, but it feels very loose, right? So you may have like a yin yoga class that you can get into. You could even just like Google yin yoga on YouTube. You're welcome. This is also has to the bodily pathways within your legs. So maybe stretching, a lot of that movement, maybe dance is something that you feel called to. The element is wood, which I really love. So whether that's maybe you want to buy a new like wood figurine, or I just got a ping. I don't know who it is, but somebody's going to message me and be like, oh, I just got this new thing. So I don't know who you are yet, but I'm interested to see who DMs me, because I know somebody is. And one of you just got a new like either like wood piece or something that's going up on kind of like your mantle area. So anyway, mantle area. Okay, let's move on. And then the keywords are planning and action. So again, I think we're definitely in that space, and it's all moving. That's what I love so much about this card. There's a lot of like there's a lot of like floating and harmony and just kind of like she's almost like on display, but only for herself. And there's like, her hands aren't like up high. It's like very nice and ease. So again, how can we go into this new space, this planning and this action while moving with ourselves rather than against ourselves? Cool. That's what I got. It's kind of the energy of like the eclipse. Now what? Like that's really who we are, and we're meeting what I think, at least for the next, I'm going to go 10 years, we're meeting this next version of ourselves. And that is so cool and so major. And so allow yourself to like get to know, what are your likes? What colors do you like? What do you like to wear? How, like, do you like to cook? Maybe you don't. Maybe like just really take that time and become aware of the things that you need now, because you may be shocked how quickly things that you've been working on or putting out in the world are almost like so quickly not in alignment that you're like, whoa, what the fuck? Like it feels like being sideswiped. For context, like for me, and then here's like subtle plug. I have a half hour of comedy that's dropping on my 38th birthday, May 1st. And the body of work is called Tired Mom. That'll be available on YouTube. And all of my jokes and everything in there. I mean, some of those jokes are new. Some of them I've had for a really long time. And it was like, I literally was done. And then I'm like, oh my God, I feel so far beyond all of those like thoughts, feelings, the way I even like moved through, like just all of that. So just showing how quickly, like sometimes like we birth something out and then it's like, whew. So really just being okay with that. And we don't have to place any judgment on it, but knowing that that kind of energy is going to be coming up a lot for us. So like, cool. You know what I mean? Like you're a whole new you. New year, new you. All right. That's it for me. As always, I'm going to be touching on some more of this stuff in the Misfit Light. If you're not familiar, the Misfit Light is my offering of a new, like way of being and really sinking into that well-being. So we touch on a different aspect of your well-being every week. So that is live on Instagram, Monday evenings at 8:15 p.m. That's Eastern Standard Time. So you can hop on with me as we go through that. You can ask questions, we can interact. And then also you have a free workbook. So I create free workbooks for you every week. You can go and download that. We're now actually going to be doing them in a series. So whether that's in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, all of the workbooks will be in one location for you so that you don't have to log on each week to get it. They will all be there for you. That way also too, you may find like there's one series that you are really into, and then a couple of other weeks you're like, oh no, I feel good on that. So you can kind of pop in and out of the services a little bit easier. So that's available to you. We've got that coming up. I will be doing the Rachel LaForce Show live in Boston, June 6th. So if you're in that area, please come on out. I'll be dropping more information about that coming up here soon. I'm also going to be doing the Misfit Path readings in Boston on that same day. So more to come out on that. Like I said, my half hour of comedy with a very tired mom, that's me, is dropping on YouTube May 1st. I would absolutely love for you just to like grab some popcorn, throw it up, like hook it up on your big screen and just enjoy. So that is from me to you. And all those clips will be dropping all over social media. My books are open for my creative consults, which I'm doing same thing, like just change them a little bit. So these are now my creative eye sessions. I'm going to be sharing more about that. So just more of like, sometimes I think people really want to work with me, but they're like, well, I don't know exactly what the thing is yet. And a creative consult feels like somebody needs to bring something like fully prepared. And it's really not that. It's really an hour for you to get my creative eye, my insight, my experience on something. So whether it's just to kind of pick my brain, you know exactly what it is, you're revamping something. This is an hour for you creatively to bring me your baby and let me love on you and your ideas. Cool. So creative eye sessions are now up and available. You can book those on rachellaforce.com, as well as the Misfit Path readings. So if you're really feeling drawn to a lot of the spiritual work, you really kind of know where you are and wanting to navigate and kind of see what lies ahead for you a little bit more, this is the perfect reading for you. And so really, I would love you come in, and there's a lot of things that are very intuitional about it, but also you'll tell me a little bit before you come into session about what you're wanting to work on, what areas. I will sit with that and kind of have some initial messages that come through. Sometimes we talk to your guides. Sometimes we'll talk to my guides. Sometimes we'll just sit down and do Reiki. Sometimes it's more brass tacks of like action steps. So it's really a curated and like just a bespoke spiritual offering. So know that both of those are available to you and they are open. I will be shutting my books down for this summer, taking a little bit of a break. So go ahead and jump on that if you have been feeling it. We're also going to be rolling out some new coupons coming up soon too. So if you're like, I love it, the price point, my wallet doesn't love it as much, I'm here for that. Know that I've got some coupons and stuff that I'm rolling out. So definitely be on the look for that, because there's some really good ones headed your way. All right. That's all I got, man. I thought this was going to be quick and dirty, and I think we're sitting at about 30 minutes. So there you go. All right. I love you so much. Be wild, be weird, be wonderful. Okay. All my heart to you. Love you, mean it.
Time, weather, and highways.